Hey guys, welcome back to the garden, and today I'm going to give you a little bit of a winter garden tour. Let's see what we've got going on. I'm leaving this container empty. It has a bit of a drainage issue and we're going to have to look at how to deal with it. Then just to the side over here, these lovely little red flowers are actually our Million Bells mini petunias. They're beautiful. They do change color with the season. Sometimes they show more red and sometimes they show more yellow depending on the temperature. Next to that, we have our bay leaf tree, as well as some freesias. Over here, I have my two worm bins. I am going to give them a bit of water because I'd like to harvest some worm tea and use that to feed some of the plants coming up in our garden. So for these little containers, I am pretty impressed. This container here is housing my saffron, and hopefully this year we may get some flowers. I'm not sure if we will, but I'm going to remain hopeful. There are a few other things growing in this container, a couple of weeds, as well as a couple of cool things. For instance, amongst all these saffron leaves, this foliage, we actually have a lavender that's growing pretty well. I am going to come along here and remove it and transplant it somewhere else because it currently shades our little Swiss chard out a bit too much. So we're going to replant this lavender somewhere else and give it a better opportunity. Then in this container in front, we have a little kale that we've planted. I don't think it gets nearly enough sun, so it does seem as if it's stunted slightly. But next to it here, we also have a Swiss chard that I planted ages ago, and we know that this one isn't struggling on the space side of things. So it could definitely be a user error in this situation where I just haven't been ensuring that these get enough sun. We do have another container out in the garden that is standing empty at the moment, so maybe we'll switch it out. Now that we've had a look over here, let's turn our attention to this side of the arch and let me show you what we've got going. So over here I have an echinacea growing. I'm super excited about this one because it is an orange echinacea, and if you come here you can actually see that there's some new growth and potentially a flower coming up. So I'm excited about that. Right here next to that, in this container over here, we have got some freesias coming up, and they are already starting to develop these little buds. I do like the freesias. They have a very unique scent to them, a lot like honey. They have a very sweet smell, and then each of these little buds will open up in their own time, so you don't just get one flush of flowers, you get a couple of days worth of it, and it really is very pleasant. They come in different colors, pink, yellow, orange. I have a feeling majority of mine are going to be white or yellow this year. Then just in front of that, I actually have this wild rosemary. Our garlic chives have settled, but on some very sad news, our bean has come to an end and it looks like it's given up the will to live, which is very sad, but also not unexpected considering it is winter here. In this little container, I actually have what I thought was thyme, but it may be oregano growing. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait until that sizes up slightly, but I really was under the impression that this was going to be a thyme plant. In this little section of the garden, we'll start down here. We have a lavender. This container has things sprouting in it, but nothing that I've planted or am willing to take responsibility for. And in both of these containers, this one and this one where I planted peas, I seem to only have tomatoes coming up. And honestly, I'm not really upset about that, because by the time it does come for them to put on some major growth, these seedlings will at least be ahead of the curve. So let's see if they can hold on for the remainder of winter, and then we'll find them a place in the garden. And down here, I did plant 3 basils. I do still have 3 basils, but this little one is looking a bit sad and tired and may not make it, so we might pull it out. But so far, these 2 are holding on pretty well. Wheelbarrow's looking good. It hasn't got any strawberries as of yet, but it is definitely throwing 1 or 2 little flowers every now and again. But the exciting part here is, you see these little pieces that look like grass? I do believe that is my garlic chives coming back for their 4th season. This basil looks a little bit worse for wear, but I think it's going to make a pretty decent comeback. I'm hopefully going to have loads of basil in the future. These are the chilies that I'm trying to overwinter. I have 3 of them, a jalapeno, a paprika, as well as a Thai chili. So far, not looking too bad. The jalapeno's definitely taken a knock, but I think after this winter, going into spring, I'm going to prune it pretty heavily up here and allow these smaller side shoots that do look pretty healthy the opportunity to grow, and we'll forgo the remainder of the branches and see if we can get some decent growth next season. I also have an eggplant over here. For the most part, it's surviving the cold, but it is a bit diseased, and Duncan said he'd come along and spray them for me. Let me know in the comments below if you are interested in a spraying video, and we'll show you the products we use and maybe explain to you why we use them. Over here, our strawberries looking very healthy, as well as our impatiens, so no comments on that. Over here, we have our mustard greens. We will be using this and some of our spinach for stir fry in the future. The bulbinella that Chris gave me is looking pretty good, and my potatoes are doing pretty well. And since we've healed them, we've actually had a bit of growth. We have 1 or 2 that are popping through the surface of the sand now, so hopefully we'll get a decent potato harvest. I doubt it, because this tub is quite small, but hey, I'm willing to settle for 6 or 7 small potatoes. So this little area here in the garden is fast becoming one of my favorites, and it's just because everything has taken off and it has stolen my heart with the whimsy of it all. I like to romanticize my garden, and for me, this tickles me. I've got some volunteers or self-seeded sweet peas that have come up, and they're my absolute favorite flower, so I'm very definitely looking forward to having an abundance of those. I have a couple that I'm growing up this ladder, and for those of you who've been around for a while, you'll recognize this. This was originally our staircase to the chicken coop, but unfortunately at the time, one of our chickens, Mavis, she couldn't make it up here, so we actually removed it and put a ramp in, which is still in its place currently, but we'd put the time and the effort in to craft this little ladder, and I'm so proud of it. So I've just opted to highlight it and showcase it in my garden. Use it where we can. So for now, I've got some sweet peas growing up there. I have some sweet peas growing up this little trellis that we crafted the other day. I do, however, still need to come around and add some twine onto this trellis so that the peas have something to grip on so that they can grow a little bit taller, much like these ones are doing on the pillar next door. I did latch these and tuck them slightly, but for the most part, they are starting to creep on their own, which is pretty cool because I know these sweet peas can grow pretty tall. Our verbena is starting to flower in multiple little spaces, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, the color of this verbena just doesn't show well on the camera for some unknown reason, but it is lovely. I also have a mix of pansies and nasturtiums in this container. And down here, I have a bit of marjoram, a kale, and one of our garden staples, a comfrey. Also, let's not forget our little pansy. She's beautiful. I think for this garden, we're starting in the far back corner. Come along. This area is a little bit bare, but only for now. We have 3 paprika plants that hopefully will come back this season and produce a whole load of chilies for us. They're still producing. So in all honesty, I'm not too worried. Again, we will do a little bit of pre-summer pruning just to make sure they are their strongest going into the spring season. Here in the container garden, I have got an empty container. Like I said, I might be planting out something new in this container, or potentially swapping this container for the one that has our kale and our Swiss chard in. I think they appreciate the sun a little bit more, and it is a bit wasteful having an empty container here when I could have something growing. I thought I'd bring you along to show you another freesia. Look how beautiful this is. This freesia is actually starting to open. So this is my little freesia, and as you can see, it does look like its first flower is about to open. That should happen in a matter of days. I really am excited. But this is what I was trying to show you earlier. It's going to open this one little flower and then the next. And as you can see, going down this head of the flower, that there are in fact multiple buds on here. And they will open in a succession. And I'm excited for that. I have a sneaking suspicion though that this particular freesia is white. Down here in this container, I have got a pea growing. This is one of the seeds we soaked. I do believe that this was the Oregon snow pea, snap pea. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but it's starting to grow tendrils. So we are going to have to make a little trellis here soon. As for the rest of this foliage in here, I'm not even sure what it is. But it's keeping the ground moist. It's acting as a ground cover, and it doesn't seem to be affecting this pea at all. So I'm just going to leave it for a little while. Along the chicken run, it's looking very different now that the granadilla's gone quite bare, but not the end of the world. We will be planting a few things in here. I have already planted some seeds along here, which I'm sure you saw in the last video. If not, definitely go and check it out. So we do have a few seeds coming up here. They are still tiny. There are other seeds coming up that I'm not 100% sure what they are, but every now and again we get the glimpse of something growing, so hopefully these are our flowers sprouting. In this section of the garden over here, there definitely are a lot more sprouts coming up, which is promising. I planted marigolds, I planted pansies, and I also planted some namaqualan daisies, so definitely will be interesting to see what comes up from there in the future. In this section of the garden, I planted beetroot, I planted turnips, I planted more beetroot, and I planted in our mustard green starts. As you can see, our mustard greens are doing fantastic, and we're due to harvest a few coming up pretty soon. The turnips are starting to size up. They are even starting to show color. However, on the beetroot front, we have not had the same kind of success. Unfortunately, many of them were shaded out, and because the cats like to lie amongst the flowers, they've crushed a lot of the seedlings in this particular row here. On this end, however, they've been dug up and shot and lay on, and they just never had a chance at surviving. So unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have a pretty beetroot bare winter season. I could, in theory, plant beetroot now and have a harvest still, but I don't want to waste my space with long-term crops when I know my next season is right around the corner. Because for me, I'm probably going to start seeds this coming August. So it doesn't make sense now to replant some beetroot seeds in the space, which I'll use at a later stage. These turnips will eventually be pulled up, and for the most part, our tomatoes will go in here. Our carrots are doing really well. These are the Kuroda carrots, and these are the Chantenay Kuru variety. I did plant a row of color carrots. None of them came up, but I have found 2 Swiss chards that have come up in and amongst our carrots, and I plan on transplanting those at a slightly later stage. But the exciting part about this is the strawberries that have made it out of the wheelbarrow and settled in the soil here are starting to flower. So hopefully this year we'll get an abundance of strawberries. In this section of the garden, I do have 4 Swiss chards growing. They are going to come out at the end of the season. Unfortunately, they do seem to be getting a lot more powdery mildew than the other varieties I've grown. So I may remove them and plant something healthy in here in their place. So I was thinking of taking the 2 little Swiss chards, one from over there and one from at the back over there, and coming through here and planting them in this gap to hopefully allow them to get nice and large and remain healthy. This is our scarlet kale. She's still very little, but I'm excited to get a fresh new flavor in the kitchen. Here in front of me is our kale experiment. On this side, I planted Linda seeds, and this side, I planted Frankie Cementi, and the Frankie Cementis did really, really well. I don't blame the seed on this particular experiment. I do blame human error. Unfortunately, the way the sun throw shade with this awning or this frost guard, this shade netting that we put up. It does throw a piece of shade where this plank hits, and that covers this particular row. So it didn't have the best germination ever. But we also have a secondary pea that has come up here in the garden. So I might dig that one out and transplant it with its friend over in the container. And just before we move on to the seeds, let's take a look here at our hanging baskets. The strawberries here are doing so well. So I'm very excited about that because they've already put on fruit, much like the other hanging basket. This one is really pretty at the moment because not only is it throwing flowers, it has the different fruits at their different stages of ripening. And that is exciting for me at least I know I'm halfway to my first strawberry harvest. Okay guys, so let's take a look at these little seeds. So over here I have a little row of bok choy that's come up, which is pretty cool. It's the first time I've had any major success planting those. I seemingly didn't have very much success with these purple lettuce seeds, but I did have a few come up. So you can see them over here. I do believe that is the purple lettuce, so we'll wait and see. But on the green lettuce front, our heading lettuce has come up, and there are multiple seeds that have come up. So that's pretty cool. I do need to do some thinning here, but for now, we'll see how it goes. And then right over here, we have got our row of radishes that we planted, and they too have come up quite nicely. Hey guys, so that's the end of the tour and the end of this week's video. I hope you enjoyed having a little look at what's going on in our winter garden. I really did enjoy showing you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Come back and see what we're growing this spring.